with the Patreon community. We are going to be talking about money, marriage, marketing, and a bunch of other questions from the perspective of being an indie artist. Don't you go nowhere. Intro. Yo, what's going on? My name is Ruslan, hip-hop artist, creative entrepreneur with King's Dream, ENT.com. Proudly sporting my math hat. Shout out to the Yang Gang and, of course, the Outlier Drip, only available on King's Dream, ENT.com. Listen, this is something I really look forward to, which is getting together with our Patreon community virtually through the Zoom call. And I've also got to connect with a lot of them personally, and some of which I hang out kind of regularly with, specifically my man Nate, who I hoop with every Tuesday and Thursday. And we are going to be talking about indie artists and a little bit about money management, marriage, and marketing, and any other questions they may have on this topic, which is a huge topic, a big loaded topic. And so how it works is we'll kind of open up with some different thoughts that I have on these topics, and then we're going to bring in the questions. Specifically, my brother Jordan had a good question based on a video that's going to come out tomorrow. One of the perks of being a patron is you get to see all the content early, and tomorrow I have a video dropping with Montel Fish, and me and him basically talking about being an independent musician and the tension in marriage and money and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm very excited, man. We do this every single Sunday night. Sometimes it's only a few of us. Tonight, right now, looks like there's about 9-10 of us. Sometimes, you know, the topics can go into a variety of different places. I'm trying to keep them more focused for the sake of like the YouTube SEO, so people can see the topics and all that kind of stuff. So if you're watching this on YouTube Live, thank you so much. Do me a favor, give this video a quick thumbs up. That helps a ton in terms of the algorithm and all that good stuff. And man, I've been married for, I just celebrated 11 years of marriage. I've been with my wife 14 years. So we started dating in 2004, right? Yeah, that's the math on that, right? Yeah, something like that. Anyway, it's been a long time. No, 15 years, 15 years. Married for 11 years, going on 12 years. We have a son named Levi, who's turning 5 next Sunday in a week. And man, I really enjoy being married. I do not present myself as some type of marriage expert or some type of perfect husband or anything like that. I've just been married for a good amount of time, and I enjoy talking about this stuff. I probably don't talk about it enough. And in terms of money, I've been a full-time creative entrepreneur for 2015 is when I went full-time with music, the summer of 2015. So it's been 4 years, going on 5 years. And we've consistently, have had a business and grown a independent music business that has grossed 6 figures every year since 2015. And I'm hoping to grow that and scale that up so that we could do even better and provide more economic opportunity. And I've been doing this completely independent. So I've been handling the music side, the creative side, doing my best to handle, the accounting and the books and having systems in place for all that, as well as the marketing and the storytelling and the branding. And then obviously outsourcing certain things like that. And so I am not like a guru on these topics, but I do happen to know quite a bit in terms of just sharing my experience with these different topics. And so I wanted to bring in my brother Jordan Hopkins, who is a producer, originally in Ohio. I think he's about to be transplanted to Atlanta, Georgia. Let me bring you in, good sir. Give me 1 second. All right, you are on. So, yeah, man, you watched the video on Montel Fish, which, again, that video is not out yet, guys, but it will be out tomorrow. Part 1 of it will be out tomorrow. So the patrons have had it early. And so I wanted to bring in Jordan because I thought this was a great way to kind of spark up the conversation and then kind of see where the Q&A goes from here. So, Jordan, welcome, sir. And let me know what thoughts on the video, what questions you have, what can we elaborate on?
So I actually found it very interesting because I've actually been in a long distance relationship with my girlfriend for about 2 years.
Okay.
We live about 2.5 hours apart from each other. She's in Cleveland, I'm in Columbus. So just recently, this conversation of how, like, when I moved to Atlanta, how this is going to work has come up. And then, like, literally maybe a few hours after we had that conversation, you posted that video. So I was just watching it and I was just, like, intrigued by the thought process behind, like, marriage and entrepreneurship, because when we initially started dating, I had this mindset that I didn't necessarily want to get married until I was, like, 30. So I had time to really grow my music into a something that I could financially support a family with.
Yeah, of course.
So I was, like, very hesitant about that. And I don't know, partially just seeing how you've been able to do that, like, have a profitable music business while having a family at the same time, kind of slowly started changing my perspective. So I've been trying to figure out where my stance is on that, and, like, when I would feel comfortable getting married based off of that. Based off of, like, just watching other people be successful and be married in both music and, like, have a successful marriage.
Yeah, that's a great question. So how old are you now? You muted yourself.
Sorry. I'm 24 right now for the next, like, 3 months. So
okay. So you'll be 25 soon.
Yeah.
Okay. And you and your lady have been together for, you said 2 years?
Almost 3 years.
3 years, but it's long distance, and it's going to become even more long distance once you relocate to Atlanta.
Yeah, it's been long distance basically all but 4 months when we first started dating when I was still in school.
Got it. Yeah. So, man, I think it's one of those things, bro, where, and I talked about this in a Montel Fish video, but we can definitely jump in. And there's other people that are married on the chat that if you guys want to hop in, feel free. Jordan, I think one of the toughest parts is we think that marriage and children limit or take away or get in the way of our dreams and our pursuits and those things that we believe we're supposed to be doing, right? And some of that is kind of taken out of context from a passage in the scriptures in Corinthians where Paul talks about, I wish you guys were all single like me. And I think some of that kind of comes from that, ignoring. And this is a pet peeve of mine. And I'm going to do a whole video about some of this stuff in terms of prosperity versus poverty gospel, and just how people kind of cherry pick verses without really understanding what was going on in the climate when we're talking about issues like why people shouldn't get married, why people are suffering and in poverty, right? And they're usually, in the context of the scriptures, they're written because there's oppressive systems and regimes that the disciples are experiencing life in, meaning that they're under a evil Roman Empire that is outlawing Christianity, and it was outlawed up until Constantine. So therefore, building wealth was very difficult and different. Therefore, being married and just being a Christian in general, and then being married with kids, and then potentially getting martyred as somebody who was married with kids and a Christian, right? So when Paul writes that passage, that is the context of that. So I don't think he's speaking about this in an absolute sense. He's saying, hey, this is my opinion. If you weren't married, there would be less risk, there would be less responsibility, and God forbid, if you were to get martyred, which a lot of them were getting martyred, you wouldn't, you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't have anybody else in the equation. And so I say all that to say that then the current perspective is that in order to be someone that chases your dream, in order to be an entrepreneur, that your wife or your kids are going to get in the way of that, which I believe is the complete opposite. I believe that anything is always easier to do in community, meaning that if you want to lose weight, it's always easier to lose weight when there's somebody with you doing it. If you want to do your devotionals, it's always easier. If you want to be consistent in a small group, it's always easier when there's someone else a part of that journey. And so building a business, being an entrepreneur, I believe is substantially easier if there's someone that's going to keep you accountable and is aligned with you. Now, if that person doesn't want you to be an entrepreneur and doesn't want you to pursue music, that's a whole separate conversation. That's a whole nother conversation. And so I'm going to bring in my brother Canvas, who is married and is an entrepreneur outside of music. And I wanted to get his perspective because I feel like he has built a business and is doing music now and has a lot of perspective on it. So go ahead, brother.
Yeah. Yeah, so first thing I would say is I was actually in a long distance relationship with my wife the whole time. So I can speak a little bit on this. So I was born and raised in Northeast PA. My wife is from Richfield, Ohio, so near Cleveland, Akron area. So we had about a 6 hour distance. We've been dating, started dating 2013, got married 2017. Up that whole time was long distance.
Four years, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we dated for 4 years as well.
Yeah. So, and then basically just getting to see each other a handful of times a year. So that was definitely difficult. But I would say that there's a few advantages to long distance relationships.
Okay.
I think the first advantage is that you learn to build a very good foundation on communication because you have nothing else. There is no holding hands, there is no kissing, there is no physical being with each other attraction. Obviously you're attracted to each other physically, but you know, there's only so much you can say to a person through a webcam, or you know, you're on the phone and you're, you know, like there's not a lot there besides your speaking and your communication skills.
Yeah.
And so when we got married and moved in together, we already had that foundation of communication, and there wasn't a lot of people get in a relationship and they get all feely and puppy love and they ignore that communication aspect because they're so focused on the physical, and then they get married and realize that communication isn't there. And they end up having issues. That's, you know, that's definitely something I've seen. And I think the benefit is, you know, I got married at 21. Yeah, 21. And there is a benefit to building something together.
Yes.
From ground zero.
Yes.
As opposed to, like you said, you know, let's say you get married at 30, you've already got this empire built. You've got a successful career.
Now you're talking about prenups.
So, yeah, exactly. You know, and then this person comes in, and I'm not saying this is true for everybody, but you know, for me, I wouldn't be sure if this person, how do I know they're not just with me for the success?
Right.
You know, how do I know they're with me? Like, it's good to know that no matter what I do in the world, and no matter where music goes from here on out, I can come home to this person who loves me no matter how unsuccessful I am.
Yeah, man.
And no matter how many followers I have or how many streams I have, like this person loves me for me and loves the Lord. And so I think there's really two benefits. You have that communication foundation, and you have that ability to build something together and have a stake in it together. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. I'm not in the kid stage yet, but definitely there's a value to doing life with another person. And there's a sharpening that you both do to each other that God allows, where my wife is very detailed and very planned and very organized, and I'm very big picture, very loose, very laid back. And so we kind of complement each other in that regard. And in 2 years, man, I've learned so much about myself, and I've become so much less selfish, and so much more generous, and so much more compassionate in how I treat other people, just because of my wife. So I think there's benefits, man. So that's all I'll say on that for now.
Yeah, that's good, man. And I would totally agree in that a Christ-centered marriage, because I don't want to just use the word marriage loosely, but a Christ-centered marriage is probably going to help you grow in sanctification. It's probably going to help you become more like reveal your blind spots to you and show you all those edges that you're rough around, right? And just, I don't know, I think it's been one of the best things for me. If you struggle with self-awareness like I did because I was an only child, it'll definitely help you become more self-aware. There's just so many pros to being in a Christ-centered marriage that and then especially like if you're living in an environment where maybe you're staying with your parents and you've never lived on your own, like transitioning and having your own space, transitioning and being on your own with someone, being able to build a life with someone. I mean, there's just so many more pros to that. And unfortunately, we're seeing young people push that out further and further and further. And you got people getting married in their 30s. They don't have kids until they're 35. You see this more in cities. You see this a lot in Los Angeles and New York City, probably like in Chicago. But, you know, I think there's so many perks of being married, and those of us that are married would tell you that. You know what I mean? Again, Christ-centered, Jesus-loving marriage. If you just marry some random broad because you got her pregnant, that's going to be different. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have different issues. As we got different different things you got to do for that. You know what I mean? So does anybody want to chime in? We can kind of segue into specific money conversations in terms of, revenue streams as a indie artist. We could segue into that. We can unpack the marriage thing more if you want, Jordan. If you guys have questions in the live stream, feel free to chime in. But yeah, let me know if anybody wants to chime in. You could do the little raise your hand. Okay, we got the homie saying newly engaged.
Yeah,
What's up, bro?
how you doing?
Fantastic.
Yeah, so on a segue, you're talking from marriage into money. I saw a quote. I don't know if it was that you posted or somebody in your community, if it was like Bizzle or Ray or somebody, but I saw something that was like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that's
good.
Where when it comes to being with somebody for the rest of your life, obviously as a marriage covenant should be, it might not go as fast as you want it because you got to go with another person. If you think about anything else, if you do a 3-legged race, you can't run as fast in a 3-legged race, but you can, with that strength of the other person, with the help, as Canvas was saying, if it's somebody that supports you from the beginning, before you're big, before you're famous or whatever, that person is with you, the true you, before it was the clout you. You know what I mean? So if you want to go the distance with somebody, start with them early. I'm not saying you got to get married when you're 21, but I'm saying like at least have that relationship and trust built, and then that'll obviously flawlessly lead into a marriage, you know what I mean, and go into that as you grow and as you become an entrepreneur and make more money.
Yeah, man, that's good. And I think so many people are just trying to go fast, and they don't understand that it's actually better to go further, and that too much success, too much growth too soon can be and have a negative impact, and here's something to think about is a lot of my friends who are successful end up really struggling in relationships because they're already successful. They may already be popping, and then you don't know if someone is there for you or if someone is there because they know you're paid, they know you got money, right? And so I love the idea. I love the idea of just building your life with somebody, man. Considering two people are equally yoked and they both love Jesus and all that.
Right, yeah, it definitely helps out. Like, even if you think about times when you gotta struggle, like if you're like going through something hard, like whether you're alone and you've built something fast, if that starts to fall apart, it's 10 times worse if you gotta do that alone. And everybody struggles at one point or another, so you might as well not do that alone.
Yeah, that's good, man. Does anybody else want to chime in on this? Because I actually have a question for Nate before we segue into other stuff. Because I think there's a lot of people that are watching this that are like, oh man, I'm young, I'm struggling making money, I don't know how to do it, this and this and that. And I think Nate is actually a good example of somebody I know personally who's in his early 20s, and he moved cross country to one of the most expensive cities in the world, and he's figuring it out. And he's not rich, but he's figuring it out. So does anybody want to, and then we can kind of go into specifically about revenue streams we could be building with music, and I could get very detailed on that. But does anybody want to chime in on this idea? Josh, I think you're married, right, Josh? So I don't know if you want to chime in, my bro Josh from Australia. I can't do it in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, Canvas really took all the words out of my mouth that I was going to say. So I live in Australia now. I did long distance for a year when I lived in Dallas. Met my girlfriend doing met my wife now doing some mission work out in Australia. And then did long distance for a year. And I mean, it just worked so perfectly. And I kind of had the same mindset, Jordan, where, I was like, man, I'm just going to wait till I'm 30. I'm going to focus on me. Mm-hmm. And then here comes this girl just popped into my life who was just perfect, and she just supports me more than I even support myself, and believes in me more than I believe in myself. And so I was like, I want that for the rest of my life. And then Canvas just said it perfectly about the whole communication factor doing long distance. And so I came here, and I guess the only other thing I would add, which I mean you guys kind of said with getting married, but for me, we had a honeymoon baby. So 2 months later, out popped my daughter Willow Ann Angersano. She's like almost 7 months now. And I just remember being so terrified and so excited all at the same time. And I guess being a father, it's just so interesting because once I found out I was going to be a dad, like, man, I just started like hustling. Like I was like, okay, this is real. And, you know, I was kind of close, you know, I have like, you know, I'm getting a little bit of money with like speaking gigs and everything. And so like, once I found out I was going to be a father, like my work ethic just shot out of the roof. And I was like, okay, like this isn't about me anymore.
Yes.
And so there's times where I'm like, man, like, you know, I'd have so much more time if I was, you know, if I wasn't a dad yet. But then I was like, I don't think I'd have this work ethic yet. Like, I feel like, and then the whole thing of like, man, just realizing like how selfish I am and working on that, having these two girls in my life and just really like, yeah, just iron sharpens iron with that. And just my vision more and more is becoming more about building community and loving other people and less about being a successful rapper, you know, and that's still a journey. And like, I'm still on that journey now.
That's good, man. I think people don't understand how much, if you're a halfway decent human being, like if you're a halfway, especially if you're a Christian and you know the Bible and you understand what the Bible says, but if you're just a halfway decent guy, having a kid will grow you up quick. You know what I'm saying? It'll grow you up quick. And so those are the things that we think that, man, I'm going to get married and I can't do what I want to do with my career. Not true. And I'm going to have kids and I can't do what not maybe that was true 30, 40 years ago. Like if you wanted to be a Broadway actor in the 70s and you had to move to New York to get on Broadway and that was your only path. But nowadays there's so many ways into the industry you want to be working in that to limit what God can do based on, you know, having kids or anything. The motivational thing, Levi, my wife was the one that told me to quit my job, but Levi was the one who really, like, it was like, man, what do I want to do with my life? Like, do I want to stay in ministry or do I want to be an artist? Because I can't do both. I can't just kind of have one foot in, one foot out. I have to go all in. And so that is the part that I don't think people understand, the external motivation. I said this in the video with Montel, which again is going to drop tomorrow. I said, when you are single, you have all the time in the world, but not a lot of external motivational factors to push you forward. When you're married, you have all the motivation in the world, but not as much free time. So you have to balance that, right? You have to balance that. And so I think it's a beautiful thing, man. I'm looking at some of the questions here. Shout out to my man Phil. I don't know where Phil is at. He should be in the stream with us. Just a thought for the homies considering relationships, marriage. Be sure that your mate believes in what you're doing. Yep. Set clear expectations for what your goals are. And be certain that your spouse is about that life. No sense in trying to push a dream on someone who's not down for it. It's a marriage killer. Your marriage should always win over everything to make sure they're in line. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that is a conversation you guys need to be having beforehand. Those of you guys that are entrepreneurs or ladies that are entrepreneurs. Like, don't... the scriptures saying equally yoked, like that means that they're two oxen moving at the same speed, right? That's what that's talking about. They're partnered up. And so you can be equally yoked spiritually, but just have different values and goals. Somebody might just want to be comfortable, and the other person might want to live a different kind of lifestyle where they're willing to deeply sacrifice for a season to grow, and you know what I'm saying. And so I think that's important in that regard as well. So I'm with you, bro. I think that's super duper important, is to be on the same page with the person that you're going to build a life with. So I don't recommend, like, if you are envisioning living a high risk lifestyle where you're living, you're hustling, you're working multiple jobs. Sometimes you got to be gone, you got to travel, and the person wants to live like a normal Ned Flanders, Mayberry type pace of life. Like, that's probably not going to click, even if both of you guys love Jesus. Like, that's not going to click. You know what I mean? And so I really believe that, like, picking a spouse is the most important thing you're going to do. Who you pick to be your spouse and how they're willing to ride with you is super duper important. I'm going to bring my brother David in. I see he has his hand up, and see what he thinks. What's up, bro?
What's going on, man? I actually just have more of a question.
Okay.
Really. I know that you mentioned earlier that your wife was the one that suggested that you quit your job, for example. And for me, man, it's more of like the opposite. So obviously, my fiance right now is extremely supportive of everything that I'm doing right now. But at the same time, we've been together for a while, and she's like, hey, like, you know, I support you, everything's going good. But at the same time, you know, I have a full-time job, but she's like, you know, because I obviously trying to make more time for the music and all that stuff. But she's like, you know, eventually it's like kind of one of those things that she always like kind of says like, yo, it says something that you need to get some money. So I don't know if anyone on here has been through something like that, but more just like advice. So like, you know, some of the growing pains, you know, in relationships, just like when you're trying to like, you know, make that transition from a full-time job maybe to like a career and like something that, and I can't say it's like been working a little bit for me. It's not like I haven't been seeing traction from some of the things that I've been doing, but it's more like, you know, kind of just some of the growing pains and how to deal with some of those things. If anybody has any advice.
So you're saying that you guys have been together for a while. You guys are engaged now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And do you have
for about 3 years?
Do you have a date set for the wedding?
Next year in August.
Let's go. That's what's up, man. Congratulations.
Yes,
That's big.
Appreciate
So
it,
you work a full-time job?
Yes, sir.
And you do music on the side, and the pressure you're feeling from your fiance is, hey, you got to make some money off this music to justify the time that you're spending doing it. Did I gather that correctly?
Exactly.
That's a good woman. That's a good
100%.
woman, right? Because the question becomes, and this is how we can get tangibly into money, right? We could talk about money in a very tangible way, because the question becomes like, and I've used this example before, so forgive me if you guys have heard me talk about this. I've used the example of like there are people who go bowling and they are in a bowling league and they spend a couple $100 a year bowling. Like there's guys like me that are in a basketball league, like it's like $100 a season or whatever, right? To be in a basketball league. There's people who golf. Like I know guys that go golfing and they spend thousands of dollars a year golfing, right?
Right.
And so the question becomes like, is music a hobby that's taking up money? And there's nothing wrong with that. If you want to drop a mixtape, a single, shoot a music video, and you want to spend $1,000 a year doing music and you're not really expecting it to be profitable, there's nothing wrong with that. But if music is a career path, at some point, a side hustle has to show profitability, right? It has to show that it's profitable. And so the fact that your fiance is asking you that is great. You know what I'm saying? I had to tell my wife, like, hey, I don't want to be in the same spot this time next year, so I need you to hold me accountable that if I'm in the same spot, you got to tell me to stop. You know what I'm saying? And that was 2010, and I made the most music ever up until that time, I had the best year ever in 2010 to 2011, even better, 2012, even better, right? And so that is great. Like that's fantastic, man. That's really cool. So know that, one, that's awesome. So you're trying to figure out, how do you make more money from music?
It's definitely one of the next questions that I had, just like kind of trying to figure that out, and maybe more things that I could be doing, because I am pretty active. I don't want to make it seem like I'm just kind of like waiting around. I'm active, but just like maybe more ways to do it, like you guys were talking about earlier.
Okay, that's a great question. So check it out. The beautiful thing about music is that music nowadays has multiple revenue streams, right? If it did have multiple revenue streams, then labels wouldn't sign artists to 360s, which is a deal where they would get a piece of every single revenue stream, right? So an artist nowadays has a ton of revenue streams. I'll give you a few, right? So there's the consumption and the sale of the music, the streaming of the music, right? The sales of the music, the physical CDs of the music, right? That's a huge one. If you're an indie artist, you're seeing money from that, some money from that, right? Then there's the doing your merchandising. That's the second one, right? Merchandising, in my opinion, is becoming the primary way on which artists are going to make money. You know what I'm saying? It will be the most important thing, right? So merchandising, if it's not already the most important thing, it's already the most important thing for artists who get on Billboard, right? Because nobody's selling digital downloads like that. Like a major label artist is coming out and selling like 800 copies of an album digitally and physically first week, right? But they're doing a gajillion streams, and so that they convert those streams. But what they're really selling is they're selling their merch at shows, right? And so if you guys have seen the controversy with DJ Khaled selling supplements, and then Billboard saying those supplements didn't count, and that's why Tyler the Creator outcharted DJ Khaled. Nicki Minaj and Travis Scott had the same situation. Nicki Minaj didn't sell enough bundles, and then they turned around and they did but Travis Scott was on tour, so he sold more merch that week, so therefore he ended up doing better, right? So merchandising is huge. So you got, okay, so the revenue streams: digital consumption of music, digital sales, streaming music, right? Boom. Then you got merchandising. That's huge. That's important. I would say that's probably the most important thing right now to make money. A quick flip. If you can have fire merch, you can make money, right? The third is shows. In order to get paid for shows, you got to have a great show. Something has to be unique about you, or you have to have the hard tickets because you're popping and you're streaming well. An example, Foggy Raw is a friend of mine. He can sell tickets. Why? Because he's popping. He could sell merch because he's popping. You know what I'm saying? Some people haven't figured out the music side, and they need to really just focus on the music and the merch, right? But someone that is kind of at that next tier, they can then go do shows because they can sell tickets for shows. He could plan a show. He could throw his own show. He can get booked for a tour. He's actually going on tour, right? So the sale of tickets, huge. And then at that show, you could sell more what? Merch. Right? So if you could do a show, maybe you don't get paid for the show, but maybe you make $1,000, $500 a night in merch sales at the show, right? Whereas your personal merch, maybe you would just sell it on your website. So boom. So there's 3 revenue streams, right? We just went over 3. Okay. Another revenue stream is endorsements. I just got my first headphone endorsement. So I'm putting a sponsorship on Instagram for some headphones that Sennheiser sent me. Really dope headphones. I was looking at getting another pair of Beats by Dre. And instead of those, they sent me these really nice wireless headphones. They're great for mixing. And I spent like a month with them. So anything I put my name behind, I'm going to really sit with it, right? And so I got my first little brand deal, right? So I'm pretty pumped on that, right? And we're going to do a raffle and a giveaway. Boom. So you got endorsements. You got sync licensing. So now we're 5 revenue streams. This is just from being an artist. 5 revenue streams, right? So now you got sync licensing. If you own the publishing of your music, if you're a producer and a rapper, or if you could be a rapper and an artist and a producer, one of the best times in music, if you can halfway produce, it's one of the greatest times because you can get your music on Artlist, on MusicBed, vloggers, YouTubers, commercials, Nike, Adidas, all of the above have used my music. I make probably close to 50% of my revenue off of sync licensing. You know, sync licensing might become a 6-figure revenue stream for me in and of itself. Why? Because I have a huge back catalog of solo stuff, because now I'm producing my own stuff, right? And so this is why it's cool to lease beats, but at some point, if you can produce your own music, produce your own music. If you are using samples now, stop using samples and start using splice samples if you're that kind of artist. So just compose the music yourself, right? So now we're talking sync licensing. That's 5, right? That's 5 revenue streams. So now we got what else is there? You got potential YouTube money, right? So YouTube can generate money. If you're putting music videos on YouTube, that could generate a little bit of money. It doesn't generate or not. And then now you have subscription services like my Patreon generates money, right? My Patreon generates me money. My goal is to make my Patreon my main source of income to cover all of my expenses. And then all the other money I could pour back into my business, right? So I went over, how many was that? 7 revenue streams? That was 7 revenue streams. There's not a lot of businesses that you could do 7 revenue streams in right now, right? So people saying like, oh, there's no money in music. There's no money in that. There's a lot of money in music. If you're good and you're popping and you know how to garner attention, or as the young kids say, troll. If you understand attention, if you understand storytelling, if you understand how to do these things, there's a lot of money in music. And anybody that doesn't, that tells you there isn't, is just, they're just lying to you. And so, man, I want to build a 7-figure business, right? I want to build a 7-figure business. So I'm thinking, I'm breaking this down. There's 6 revenue streams, right? And in order to have a 7-figure business, you got to gross $80K a year. So if I divide $80K a year by 6 revenue streams. What is that? 80K, 80,000 divided by 6. So I got to have 6 revenue streams make $13,000 a month for me on average. On average. My sync licenses are getting close to that. You know what I'm saying? Some months are close to that. Some months aren't that, right? I know a handful of Christian rappers. I'm not talking about Reach Records artists. I'm talking about Christian rappers that are grossing above 10K a month off of their merch sales, right? Above 10K a month off of their merch sales. So my goal is like, I'm dreaming for the, like, I'm going big, right? Like, I'm going big. I'm like, yo, I'm trying to build a 7-figure business, so I have to have 6 revenue streams that on average do $13,000 to $14,000 a month overall, right? So, but for you, David, I don't know if David's still there. He kind of, I don't know what happened. But for the average person, what do you need to live? Do you need to make 7 figures? You know what I'm saying? No, you don't. You could comfortably live and make 60 grand a year off of music, and after taxes, depending on where you live, maybe probably not in San Diego, New York, LA, Miami, but you can make 60 grand off of music a year and live comfortably. So, okay, so let's take 6, right? 60,000. Let's divide that by 6 revenue streams. You got to make every revenue stream 10,000 a month, right? So let's divide that by 12. So you need to make approximately $800 a month off of merch, approximately $800 a month off of Spotify, Apple Music, approximately $800 a month off of brand endorsements, right? And some are going to be more than others, approximately that off of shows, so on and so forth. So it's not impossible, right? It's not impossible. It's just hard. It's simple. It's just hard, right? But if it was easy, everybody would do it. If it was easy to have a 6-pack, everybody would have a 6-pack. If it was easy to have a great marriage, nobody would get divorced, right? If it was easy to raise good kids, we wouldn't have a bunch of derelicts running around here. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's what we got to think about. Like, it's simple. So how and where do you build the revenue streams? I would say the most important one is the music. Make the music the best part of the music. There's guys in this stream right now, a guy like Conscience, who is right with his music. His music is there. His music is there. Okay, boom. So what would I do if I was Conscious? I'll probably start focusing on merchandising, right? Merchandising, and to expand the reach of the music, I'd be focusing on creative collaborations. You know what I'm saying? Berg is a producer. He's in here right now. Berg makes Josh, another guy, Josh. You guys are so freaking talented. You guys are already there musically. A lot of you guys are already good. You know what I mean? I'm not starting at the ground floor where your music is trash. You're already good. So how do you get the more eyeballs on the music? Well, you do collaborations. You know what I'm saying? You market the music. You do content around the music. And then what's the next thing? Merchandise. You know? So all you guys should have your own merchandise. You know what I mean? And I'm building my merchandise in a way where my merchandise could be autonomous and someone can buy my merch even if they're not a fan of Ruslan. Meaning that people love God Over Money as a t-shirt design, even if they don't know who Bizzle is. That's why God Over Money is a brilliant merch line. Right? Build your merch in a way where it's a movement and it's a statement that even if no one gives a crap about you as a rapper, your merch can potentially be a self-sustainable business. Partner with somebody that does Facebook ads, figure out a way to create a funnel with a place where people first view the item. You capture the information, you create a Facebook pixel, you retarget to them. This is very complicated, but I'm giving you guys like a snapshot and just going quick, right? So boom. So we just talked on merch. We just talked about the music. We talked about how to grow the music, which is creative collaborations, specifically being a main artist with other people. So me, Berg, and Jamil have a record coming out where we're all going to be the main artist on the record. I'm pretty sure me and Conscious will have a record coming out where I'm the main artist. So we're going to finesse each other's platforms. We're going to cross promote. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to grow and we're going to expand the audiences that way. Okay. So then what else are we talking about? Now we're talking about endorsements. Well, you kind of got to get your numbers up before you get endorsements. And numbers up meaning that you got to have depth, or you just got to have a lot of visibility, right? I'm not making a ton off endorsements, but I got my first one. I'm stoked. It's extra money. You know what I mean? Sync licenses. Create your own music. Start producing your own music. You can get on Artlist. You can get on MusicBed. There's other services out there. You own the masters of your music and you own the majority of the publishing. That is residual money that is for real passive income. No goofy get rich quick scheme junk. I'm talking about passive income. You build a catalog of music, of albums. I don't know how many albums are on MusicBed, like 10 albums that I own or own a portion of the master and the publishing on. That stuff trickles down. Eventually it adds up. You know what I mean? And so, David, I think you got to figure out where are you in your career path? Where are you? Have you made any money? Have you done merch? Have you done dope merch? Have you done dope songs? Have you done strategic collaborations? Do you have a good live show, right? And if you have to then stop, readjust. Where can I get better? Or, man, is this a bowling thing? Are you just going bowling? And you're in a part of a bowling league, and that's fine, and it's kind of more of a hobby, less of a business. But you know what? If you're just going bowling, that's okay, because maybe you're the guy that's supposed to own the bowling alley and not be the professional bowler. I'm okay with not being the superstar bowler. Maybe I can own the bowling alley. So I got an artist signed to me. Whoa, another revenue stream. You know what I'm saying? I got other things that I'm doing. Maybe I'm not supposed to be the guy that bowls whatever 300. I don't know how much you can bowl. I can't bowl more than 100 on most days. Like, my wife be killing me at bowling. I'm horrible. But I bet you if I tried hard enough, I could own a bowling alley. Like, if I really wanted to, I could figure out a way to own a bowling alley. You know what I mean? Does anybody want to chime in, follow up on this? I know there's a whole lot I just covered. Let me bring Conscious in since he hasn't been in. Conscious always has really good stuff to say. What's up, brother? Thanks for hopping in.
Absolutely, man. Can you guys hear me all right?
I can hear you great.
Awesome, man. So I didn't want to say a whole lot, but I just wanted to chime in really quick also and say that I think one huge thing that you left out, but I think it was just because you were talking specifically in the music space.
Yes.
But like, money helps leverage product and services in those different revenue streams. It helps a lot. So what I would say to the guy who asked that question also is you don't, obviously the ideal scenario is that your revenue streams would come from music, but I think that in the space we're in now, that's thinking too small. So like for people starting out, not people who are established. So like, there might not be a lot of ways for you to really get off the ground in those revenue streams right now. They might be a slow burn where they take time and work.
Yes.
But you can go on Google and literally search how to make quick money or how to side hustles or whatever. There is a million ways in the landscape today to make very fast, consistent money that doesn't take a lot of experience or practicality, that you can right now have some cash in hand that can then help you go leverage placements or expand product because now you have more advertising dollars. And so 2 quick references of that is Canvas does garage selling with his girl and makes thousands of dollars online. And that probably helps not only pay the bills, but leverage the music stuff.
Come on.
My wife and I, we buy product in bulk and also get baby clothes and stuff from our families, and we push it on Facebook Marketplace, and we've been able to make several $1,000s off that. And we're putting a plan in place real soon to hopefully make that offset an entire salary. So there's just a lot of ways, man. The entry point for a lot of places is so easy now that I would say if you want to get your music off the ground, go Google side hustles and quick ways to make money. Talk to everybody in this Patreon community because there's a million people here that have found ways to make very quick money to help leverage on these. And it doesn't have to be as narrow as just mute. Like, the answer is work on both. Like, see what's practical for you to do in the music stuff, and anything that's not practical with whatever spare time you have, go on Google or talk to your community and find ways to flip a product that's very quick and helps you to have more leverage.
Dude, you crushed it. That's perfect. And thank you, Conscious. And I would even add to that, I just had Ishan on, right? Ishan Burgundy was just on a YouTube channel. And one of the things he said he did was he made really good money doing videos for people. You know what I'm saying? He was doing videos for people. So maybe you hustle and you figure out something you're passionate about. Like David, I'm into sneakers. Like, I've always been into sneakers. I'm slowly building a little sneaker arsenal. 2020, I'm hoping to launch a little sneaker consignment shop out here, right? Just because I'm passionate about, and I want to move my studio in the back and kind of do like a no jumper thing, right? Have like a sneaker boutique up front with my own merch, and then have like a spot in the back, right? So sneakers, that's something I'm passionate about, and I could easily, I mean, within a few weeks of just paying attention, I could easily be making $500 a week flipping sneakers. You know what I'm saying? Like, by just knowing what to buy, keeping an eye on stuff, knowing what's hot, knowing how to offer stuff on OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace. So that's something that like I'm doing just really as a hobby, but I'm probably going to turn into like a revenue stream. But to go another path, to add to even what Conscious said, is to say Conscience does music, and he has really clean mixes on his music. So then people start reaching out to him, and he starts mixing records on the side. You know what I'm saying? Hey, man, like, you could pay this person $300 to mix your record. I'll get you a great mix for $100. And then Conscious starts doing mixing for $100, and he does 10 mixes a week, and now he's making $1,000 mixing, right? Or you pick up a video camera for the sake of learning how to shoot your own videos. You start shooting videos for other people, and before you know it, like Eshawn Burgundy said, he was out here making great money shooting music videos for other artists. And maybe you're friendly and you're connected, and therefore your other artists end up paying you a great money to shoot videos, right? Because he was doing videos for like Bizzle and a lot of the more poppin' artists who had budgets. So that's another thing, is like build side hustles around things that are related to your music passion. I built a side hustle of doing studio time. I used to rent out studio time all the time. People would come through. I think I was charging like $50 an hour, $30 an hour, something reasonable. You know what I'm saying? And then I was a long time ago, I was side hustling. I was slanging beats. You know what I'm saying? Selling beats, $200-$300 a beat, exclusives, right? I don't really do that anymore. And so I think you got to figure out, like, can you build a side hustle around the thing that you're passionate about? You know what I mean? And I'll give you guys a little tip. The people who made the most money during the California gold rush, when people were heading to California, right, to become rich, the people that really made it rich weren't the people that were going there for gold. The people that made the most money were the people that were selling picks and shovels. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, my buddy Zach Sparazzo can keep going and trying to be a famous YouTuber, and he's still doing that, right? Or he can help a bunch of other people build their Patreons who already have 100,000 subscribers and who are already popping, and take a percentage of this influencer's Patreon, this influencer's Patreon, this influencer's on retainer, this. And before you know it, Zach is a kid who's 21 years old on his way to make 6 figures. I think he's already made 6 figures. You know what I'm saying? Doing video. But he's still passionate about being a filmmaker and doing films and short films and being a YouTuber and all that kind of stuff. You see what I'm saying? So, like, building passions around things that pertain to your main thing. And yeah, man, is that helpful, David?
100%. Yes, I appreciate both of y'all for sure. It's definitely helpful. Definitely helpful. I wrote a couple things down too, so I'm definitely gonna use them.
Does anybody else want to chime in on this? Let me bring in Canvas. Go ahead, boss.
Yo. Yeah, man. So one last thing I would say to David is one very practical thing you can do in the context of your marriage, like this week, is you can sit your wife down and have a conversation in which you bring her into your vision. Because I think what a lot of husbands tend to do, and I've seen this in friends of mine that are married that have businesses and things they want to do, is they say, "Hey, babe, I got this dream that I want to do," and then they kind of let their wife sit on the sidelines and watch. And I think the mistake there is that it makes it seem very pie in the sky, because they see that you have this thing you want to do, but they don't see a practical vision of how you're going to get there. And so the security gland that God has blessed our wives with just starts to go haywire because they don't see a path forward.
That's good.
So I think the first thing, and this depends on the honesty and communication that you have built in your marriage. So your mileage may vary with this next one, but ask your wife honestly if she really thinks that you have what it takes to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Because I literally sat down with my wife. I was like, honey, like, I want to do this music thing. You know what I mean? Like I had the same conversation Ruslan had. I was like, I don't want to be here a year from now. And even before we got engaged, I was like, hey, I'm thinking of doing music. Do you think I have any sort of potential in this? And she was like, nah, you trash. I would have had to like think about it. You know what I mean? Because if anyone was going to be honest with me and tell me, it would have been my wife. And she was like, no, I think you have what it takes. I think you should go for it. So sit your wife down. My wife is basically my business partner.
Yep.
We have a united vision.
Yep.
We have one vision, and we're pursuing that vision as a team. One thing we want to do, I was talking about this here yesterday. I want to get to 100,000 listeners on Spotify. That's just my long-term goal. Mm-hmm. And she's on board with me with that. And so she's working her job. She's doing what she does to hold down the house. I'm doing what I do with my business. But we're working together with one vision. We have one bank account. We do all these things together. And there's not like me working and hustling and her just sitting on the sidelines kind of, hey, when are you going to start making money? It's like, no, we're one team and one vision pursuing that together. So bring her in on it. Let her feel that she's a part of it and that she's part of that team, and have that unity of vision with her, and have a path forward clear. Don't just say, hey, babe, I want to do this thing. Have a plan. I'm like, babe, the month of December, I want to do these 4 things to get us a little closer. The month of January, I want to do these couple things. Like, my wife is a planner. If she doesn't see the steps, she's like, all right, you got to go back and rethink this, or she's really unsure. So remember that God gave your wife to you as a helper suitable.
Amen.
She's not a watcher. She's a helper. And if you look at Proverbs 31, that woman was like a hustler. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, so I'd encourage you in that. That's one practical thing you can do like right now to get yourself in that direction. So that's all I would say, man.
That's good, man. Cam, anybody else want to chime in?
I did real quick.
Hold on, real quick. Hold on. Let me bring in somebody who hasn't. Sorry, bro. I forgot your name. Leighton. Oh, yep, you're live. Unmute yourself. We can't hear you. You're muted. You are muted. All right.
Hey, I'm good.
There we go.
I got
Let's go. What's up, brother?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, actually, like since today, I just downloaded this music software on my laptop, and it's like basically like foreign language right now. But like my buddy, he's like great at it. But I would like to start rapping, but like I would want to become like a producer. Like, I'm not a producer, but like be really great at making beats and stuff first, and then like try and make out. I'll always be able to like freestyle and stuff in high school, just like on the side, just for fun and whatnot. And so I don't know, like I kind of have a question, like how to like not like put yourself down, but like keep going and stuff. And like, I just like found like my like identity back in Christ in January. So like, I'm still trying to, put the puzzles together and everything. So I don't know if I know that's kind of like segueing off of like what y'all talking about, like marriage and money, but I was just like one of those things when y'all talking about making music and stuff.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll give you a brief answer, and I think it's a good answer, which is I think you just gotta try stuff and have some honest people that are gonna tell you if you're good or not. You know what I mean? If you have the potential or not. Because a lot of people just don't ever try. You know what I'm saying? And so I think try, like spend some time to just try. And you may not be the rapper. Maybe you're the producer. Maybe you need to pick up a camera and do a vlog, and you're just a great storyteller. You just have a charisma on camera that most people don't have, right? And you're a great communicator. So I think you just need to try a couple things and really pour yourself into it. Like, give something 110%, and then ask people like, yo, is this good? Like the way Canvas said, like he asked his wife, like, do you think I have the potential of doing this? And based on that, that's going to be a better gauge on if you have the potential of doing something versus like not trying. So I think you should definitely try, and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? And see what happens, and then see what you enjoy. Because you may think you want to be a rapper, but then you start rapping and you're like, yo, this is way harder than I expected it to be. You know what I'm saying? Or you may think you want to be a YouTuber, but then you start editing videos and you're like, yo, I hate this. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to edit videos. Like for me, like I thought I wanted to do YouTube, and then I started editing my vlogs and I was like, yo, I hate editing. So I had to figure out a different system, which is I have hardware and video switchers and, you know what I'm saying? And OBS, and I'm more live off the cuff, right? Because I know I like, oh, dude, I could, but I don't enjoy it. So you have to see, you have to try, you got to see if you enjoy stuff. And then you got to see like, is what you're doing good enough? Is what you enjoy and passionate about good? And are people responding to it?
Okay, cool.
That's the next phase, right? And are they responding to it in a way where you can monetize it? Because there are a lot of people that try stuff and they're good at it, but there's just not a place for it in the marketplace. Give you really, really practical example. Hold on, let me fix this fan. Practical example. I had buddies that were into underground, like backpack rap, right? Like I'm trying to think of some like Immortal Technique. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like super dark. And they kept at it and they produced their own music and it was good and they toured and they saw a little bit of success, but they were good at it, they were passionate about it, but guess what? The market just didn't care for it. You know what I'm saying? Like once underground became mainstream and mainstream became underground and SoundCloud rap became a thing, there was no more like underground backpack rapper, right? Like Kanye was kind of the bridge for that in the way he initially came out. And so guess what? They had to figure it out. They had to go get a job. The market didn't respond well to it. You know what I mean? And so you have to be honest with yourself. Is what you're presenting, is that something that's good? Are you passionate about it? Are you good at it? And is there a place for it in the market, or do you have to go build a market for it? And do you have that kind of wherewithal to go build an entirely separate world that either doesn't exist or has died off? You know what I mean?
Okay. Cool.
Word. I'm gonna bring.
How would you start? How would you make your market?
How would you make your market?
Hello.
Yeah. Say that again.
I mean, like, how would you make separate like that last thing you just said? How would you like rebuild that market that was dead and bring it back to life?
I see what you're
like
saying.
We just said at the end, like.
Yeah, I mean, Tech9 and those guys built an independent powerhouse label. I don't know if you know who Tech9 is, right? He made him and this guy named Travis built a major independent label, but Travis was a millionaire. You know what I mean? So a lot of times you got to have money. You got to have money. You got to have resources. You got to have connections from somewhere else. So if you want to do something that like has never been done before, or something that died, like say you're like, yo, I want to bring back neo soul music. You know what I'm saying? And that's your wave. And like, well, neo soul music's not really a thing anymore. It's hip hop and R&B, and hip hop and R&B is blended and became one genre, right? So like, who can bring back neo soul music? Well, someone like Solange can bring back neo soul music. Why? Well, because Solange is the sister of Beyonce, and she has a massive platform and an audience and a household name with Knowles. Solange could bring back neo soul music, but guess what? I'm not bringing back neo soul music. No matter how well I could learn to sing, it's just not happening. I don't have that reach. I don't have that kind of money. I don't have that kind of influence. So that's what I mean is you have to count the cost and say, do you have what it takes to bring something back like that, right? So like underground rap music, like dusty underground rap music, like is there a place for that in the marketplace? Currently, no, but lo-fi hip-hop instrumentals got popping again. So maybe the guy that was producing on an MPC back in early 2000s who was into Immortal Technique and ASAP Rock and or whoever, right? Whoever those guys were, that maybe that guy isn't a rapper anymore. Maybe that guy's a lo-fi beat producer and he's crushing it on freaking Spotify. Stolen Drums. That's a great example of somebody. He's an artist named Stolen Drums, producer. I actually met him in Atlanta. He's crushing it as a producer, and 15 years ago, it just wasn't working. He wasn't cutting it. You know what I mean? And so that's what I mean. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe you pivot and you're no longer the underground rapper. Maybe you're the lo-fi producer and you just make really cool lo-fi tapes, you know?
Okay.
Is that helpful?
Appreciate it.
Okay. Conscious, hold on. Anybody else want to chime in? I think
yeah,
Conscious
that
had
was
his
really clear. I understand what you mean.
Okay. Conscious, did you want to chime in, or Jordan, or there was somebody else?
Can you hear me real quick?
Yeah, hold on. Let me pin you real quick. Okay, go for it.
Just wanted to ask, like, and I always say this every time I get a chance to talk. I love synthesizing this stuff because it's liquid gold. So I'm just curious, and I'd love for us to do this in a way that it's not just for the Patreon community, but that's where I know we leave things that we do. So I would love to see a list of anybody who has side hustles where they make successful like side cash from, and just everybody put a giant list of ways that you found ways to make money outside of your own 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Just so we can have a comprehensive list of things for people to try.
Yeah, I'll make a public post on Patreon that's not just for the paid patrons, and then everybody can just kind of chime in on there. I think that'd be super cool. That's a great idea.
Dope. And then the only other thing I wanted to say is to Leighton, or however you say your name, bro.
Leighton, I think.
Leighton, if you've never done this thing that you're trying to accomplish before, and this is just with anything, joy is going to be fuel for anything to come out of this. Because when you're first starting something, you just got to assume that you're trash. Like, you know, unless you're LeBron in whatever you're trying, you know, so at the end of the day, like what's most important is if you have a lot of fun doing it, because only if you really enjoy it are you going to have the willpower and the sustainability to just keep busting your tail to just grind on the craft, which is what you'll actually need the whole entire time. And you'll need that to go in an upward space. So if you have a lot of fun making beats or freestyling or recording on wax, like, you know, you kind of have to, it comes with the territory that most people are probably going to think you're trash for quite a while. And, but if you love it, keep doing it and don't set too high of business expectations on that, and really grind on your craft, and don't be afraid to always set that down and try other stuff. But, you know, just have some things that you're working on that you really love.
That's good, man. That's really good. All right, we're going to start wrapping it up soon. I don't know if anybody else want to chime in. Somebody in the live stream, shout out to Michael. He talked about traveling as a married man. I think the longest I've been gone was 3 weeks for my family. I don't ever plan on doing that again. It wasn't healthy. And 2020, I don't think I'm going to do many shows at all if I can't take my family with me. And so that's something I'm believing God for, is that my shows can make enough, or whatever appearance people want me to make is popping enough that like I could bring my family. You know what I mean? And so I think traveling, I think most guys that I know usually have like a 7 to 10 day rule. You know what I mean? More of like a rule as a married man of like we won't go longer than 7 to 10 days without having sex. And therefore, if you're going to travel and be on tour, it's another one of those, like, I either got to fly home or you got to fly out or something like that. And that was pretty much, I was shot my right about 10 days. And then after that, I think I went 21 days, and I was like, I'm never doing this again. I'm never going to be gone this long. And so the longest I've been gone since then has been like 5 days without my family, and that's too long. And so my 2020 goal is just not doing any shows that I can't take my family with me on. So does anybody else got any questions in the Patreon before we start wrapping it up? What we'll do is we'll go off YouTube. We'll do a couple more questions off YouTube that people maybe don't want to publicly share.
You said you had something to ask me earlier?
Oh, yeah. So I just wanted you – okay, let me bring you back in. Nate, I wanted you just to share I love what Conscious said in terms of side hustles and all that kind of stuff. I wanted you to share of like, how have you been able to transition coming to California without a ton of money, ton of savings, and like be on your feet? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and like the kind of jobs you're doing.
Yeah, it's really
I'm going to go pee.
Yeah, you really got to have the will to I guess do something you know you're gonna hate if you know it gets you by, kind of a thing. So like, since I moved out here, been out here for probably 4 months now, and I think I've worked a total of 4 or 5 jobs already over that span of time. And like, whether it was from like, I first started my fiance now, she started working at a cafe or whatever, and her boss needed help like with some of the promotions and social media work like that. And being a broadcaster and media marketer that I went to college for, though I'm not using my degree anymore, that's something I could do on the side, run his company's social media. I'm a golfer. Ruslan was talking about guys that golf. So knowing that game, I've caddied at Torrey Pines, which is the national U.S. Open course. So I've been caddying out there. That makes some good side money. Delivering packages for Amazon in my own car. Like, just throw 50 packages in the back. I'm an independent contractor. They pay me, $2 a package. That's an easy $100 a day. So if I want, I can do that 5 days a week and make that a full-time job, but I don't want to be a delivery boy. So I do it to make enough money that I need to be able to still do what I love on the side. It's flexible enough. I've also served for a catering company. I've done all kinds of stuff that just, the goal always with every job is it flexible enough for me to do what I want to do? Because I can't be chained to the desk on a 9 to 5, or if I can't show up to work on a Friday because there's a dope open mic that's local that I got to go to get the right visibility. I'm not going to get fired for not going to work on that Friday. I needed to have that flexibility to whatever job I worked, no matter how much they paid me, it was casual enough to where they're like, come in when you want, don't come in when you don't want.
It's good, man. And here's the thing. You said something interesting where you said willing to you do something you're willing to hate. And I think the question is like, what you have to measure that, right? So some people, you love being in California, more than you hate whatever task you have to
Yeah.
do. And
You have
sometimes
to-
we have to go through seasons like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing is the whole sacrifice and reward. The risk and reward is like I gave up all my friends and family, tight knit, big family back home. It was the hardest thing to say goodbye to them, but like I knew that was something I had to do to be able to grow myself, whether it was mentally, personally, or musically, whatever it is. I knew that just getting out of hometown that I've lived my whole life, I knew that that new area would be what I needed to do. So you had to sacrifice and go to the place and struggle financially a little bit, but make it work through your work and work hard enough to do it to where it's definitely worth. People can say, oh, it's too expensive to live out there or whatever, but look at all the perks you get. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's November and it was 75 and sunny here today. Like,
There you go.
It's all what you want.
There you go. That's what's up, man. Well, anybody else want to chime in before we go? I feel like we covered a whole lot today. We talked about money streams from music. We talked about side hustles with very good ideas about side hustles. We talked about marriage. We talked about how to grow your audience if you are an artist. There's a lot we covered, man. So I'm very grateful for everybody who watched this. Leave a comment. You guys got anybody else want to chime in real quick before we shut the YouTube down and do a bit of an offline? If you guys want on the YouTube, if you guys want to hop into the Zoom call, it's in the description in the Patreon. I'll post it again. We're gonna go probably a few more minutes offline with some questions that maybe people want to ask that are a bit more personal. I'm gonna post it again. You guys good? Yeah, we're good. No more questions. No more further questions. Okay, sweet. So yo, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, like it, all that good stuff. I just posted the link if you guys want to hop in with us for the remainder of the video. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so